Good evening, everybody. Good evening, my host. Please, can you hear me confirm my screen? You can see my screen and you can hear my voice.
Please go ahead, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you. Good evening, class. I want to believe that our day went well. It is 7 o'clock, 7:01 from my time now. And the lecture's supposed to kick off, by 7 p.m. So we just give like 2 minutes and we start the class. By 7:03, I'm going to commence the class today. Thank you. Once again, you are welcome to the class. You are welcome to the Advanced Audit and Assurance. And we are commencing with season 3. We have done 2 classes now, and this is the 3rd one towards the success in the forthcoming examination. So today, my name is Ajimoko Ayodeji, the second lecturer that is taking this particular course. So as you join me, let's just move on. Before we go to what we have to discuss today, I think it's good for us to look at the classroom. It's good for us to look at the classroom. Yes. Okay, we have some certain rules that is actually governing our online classes in FCA. I know some of us are familiar with it, but I still need to go through it. Number 1 there is that the students are muted on both audio and video. And this is to allow for proper coordination of visual lectures. This is just so very important because you believe and we agree with him that we send the recorded video to us. And if everybody is muted in both video and both video and audio, it will also help us or help you students by the time you are listening to the lecture. Yeah, students are allowed to use the chat button to ask questions in case of the technical difficulty from students, and kindly call our helpline. We have the telephone line there in our study. The telephone line is there. You can actually reach out to our helpline or you just chat our helpline in case you are having difficulty in maybe you are unable to hear very well. So please just make use of the helpline. Students are expected to be cordial and professional when using the chat button to ask questions or express our concern. Yes, we believe that we all have freedom of expression, but please let's just be cordial and professional whenever we are making use of this medium to reach out to us in FCA. Students are also advised to listen attentively during lecture, rather writing since lecture materials will have been provided ahead of class, yes. We send the lecture materials ahead of the class. So I believe some students might have actually printed them out and printed it out. So please just listen and ask questions where necessary. All questions will be attended to after the class. Then maybe during the class, I can actually check our chat button to see if there's any question that we need to treat even during the class. But the normal practice is that all questions will be attended to after the class. So we are going to have like 5 or 10 minutes to treat our question. If you have any question, through this lecture or question from the past lecture that we have taken, you can actually bring it forward. All right. So feel free to call or chat to your lecturer for question and clarification outside the normal lecture time. Yes, we always say that you have 24 hours direct contact to your lecturer. So if you need clarification, you need a solution to any question, you can actually reach out to any of the lecturer that is taking you this course, or reach out to me. Yeah, you are allowed. Once again, my name is Ayodeji Ajimoko. My name is Ayodeji Ajimoko, and my telephone number is 080 344 75437. All right, apology, sorry for that technical hinge on our side. I just discovered that I was on mute and I was dead. So please, apology for that. Thank you. All right. Last class, we looked at the regulatory environment, you know, and under the regulatory environment last class, we treated the need for the regulatory environment where I gave us 5 needs for the regulatory environment. I discussed about because of the public interest, because of the ethical requirement, legal requirement, professional requirement, and the harmonization of the accounting services. And we also talked briefly on corporate governance, where we discussed about the need for the corporate governance in an organization. We also talked about the principle of corporate governance. And we talked about among all other committees under corporate governance, we thought that, okay, that audit committee is just so crucial to this particular course that we are doing as regards to the corporate governance. And we talked about the need for the audit committee, the advantages of the audit committee, and disadvantage, even including the power of the audit committee. And also, we also talked briefly on money laundering, the reason for the money laundering, the type of money laundering, and stages of money laundering. Yes, we talked all these things. We have actually discussed them last week. So I'm just trying to recap of those things that we did last week. I'm trying to recap of those things that we did last week. But this week, we want to start practice management this week. And under the practice management, we're going to be considering quality control. Under the practice management, we're going to be starting with quality control. Yes, I gave us a brief introduction of quality control last week. We are going to start from today. Quality control is one of the aspects that's just so important, so crucial to audit of a financial statement. In fact, not only audit of a financial statement, quality control is one of the aspects that we cannot but make emphasis on as regards to advanced audit and assurance. Quality control is not only ensure on audit of financial statements, but in all the engagement that a professional accountant, go into, quality control must be ensured. Quality control must be ensured. And we have 2 important standards that is actually treating the quality control. We have 2 important standards that is treating the quality control. We have the one we call ISA 220, ISA 220, and we have ISQC 1. These are the 2 standards that is actually treating or governing the quality control that needs the quality control, as advanced audit is concerned. Now, when we say quality control, why do we need to have a quality control? Why is it that the quality control is just so important to the auditing of a financial statement or to any engagement enter into by a professional accountant? The quality control helps the company or helps the firm, to guide against a professional liability. It helps them to guide against a lot of things. It's the quality control help even the firm, to bring quality or to bring more confidence on the auditing of a financial statement or any service that the firm render to their client. So because of this, the ISA 220 quality control is just so crucial, it's just so important that even ICANN, they keep on repeating question on quality control because it is just an aspect of advanced audit that cannot be overemphasized. It's just an aspect of advanced audit that cannot be overemphasized. So ISA 220 quality control for audit of financial statements states that the quality control system, policy, and procedure are the responsibility of the audit firm. The quality control, policy, procedure, system are the responsibility of the audit firm. So in particular, responsibility of the quality control of each audit lie with the partner in charge of the audit. I told us last week that every audit of a financial statement, there is a partner that is actually that we are always been in charge of every engagement that a professional firm enter into. There will always be a partner that's also in charge. So it is the responsibility of that particular partner to make sure that quality control is ensured from start to finish of audit of a financial statement. It is the responsibility of the partner to make sure that quality control, is there to make the quality control is actually there or is ensured from start to finish. So under the International Standard for Quality Control, ISQ1, the firm has an obligation to establish and maintain a system. The firm has an obligation to establish and maintain a system of quality control to provide it with a reasonable assurance. That the firm and its personnel comply with a professional standard and applicable legal and regulatory environment. Yes. And also, under this same standard also, the firm also must report issue by the firm or engagement partner are appropriate in these circumstances. So engagement partner, they are actually appropriate in these circumstances, meaning that in the area that has to do with the quality control, it is actually the work of the engagement partner. So what are the quality control procedure? The standard also stipulated that there are two procedures for quality control, two classification of procedure for quality control. Now we have number one, quality control procedure at the audit firm as a whole, quality control procedure for the audit firm as a whole. And we have the second one, quality control procedure at procedure for each individual, for each individual of an engagement team. Quality control procedure Sorry, network just logged me out. Apology for that. Okay, I was talking about the procedure for quality control are classified into two: audit firm as a whole and each individual of an engagement team. So for the audit firm as a whole, the ISQC1 is actually the standard that treated the procedure, the quality control procedure for the audit firm as a whole. It means that the audit firm as a whole, they have the quality control procedure that has to be in place, that they have to actually ensure in auditing of a financial statement, So I'm going to take the audit, the firm as a whole, the quality control procedure for the firm as a whole. The objective of this particular standard, the ISQC1, is to establish and maintain a system of quality control and provide reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel comply with a professional standard and applicable legal and regulatory environment. And also, another purpose of that particular standard, ISQC1, is that to report issuance by the firm, as appropriate. Now, what are those procedures that needs to be in place at the firm's level? What are those procedures that needs to be in place at the firm's level? I use mnemonics to just to make to help us so that we'll be able to understand or be able to master it once and for all. I use a mnemonic called Hail Me D, so that the quality control procedure that needs to be in place at the firm's level. Now, I use mnemonics called Hail Me D. Hail Me D. You can also make use of it anyway. But if you can actually remember everything, it's not compulsory that you use the mnemonics Hail Me D. Now, the procedure, let's start with H, which is human resources. Now, it is the responsibility of the firm. It is the responsibility of the firm to make sure that there is a quality control procedure at the human resources level. What is the work of the human resources? This is the best way to know this thing. What is the work of the human resources? You don't need to cram anything. Just look at the responsibility of the human resources. Human resources, they are to hire and to fire, to train the staff, to do replacement, to do placement. These are part of the work of human resources. And at all this level, there must be a quality control procedures in place in hiring of the staff, in placing of the staff, in training of the staff, in recruitment of the staff, even in allocating the staff to any engagement. There must be a quality control in place, meaning that the human resources must ensure that they put the right peg, the round peg in a round hole. They put the round peg in a round hole. They know the area of expertise of all the staff, and they make sure that they are giving an engagement based on their area of expertise. So a firm must have a policy and procedures in place to ensure an appropriate engagement partner is assigned to an engagement. Appropriate engagement partner is assigned to an engagement. Not only the engagement partner, even the audit team. The engagement manager, the audit team, the appropriate engagement manager, the audit team is assigned to an engagement. So apart from human resources, another aspect that the firm needs to ensure that there is a quality control is the area of engagement performance. The area of engagement performance. Firm must design policies and procedure to ensure engagement are performed to a satisfactory standard. The policy and procedure should cover the area that is matter relevant to promoting consistency in the quality of engagement. When you look at the engagement performance, what are the area that you actually need to look into as regards to the quality control?
the responsibility of the firm to ensure that engagements are performed to satisfactory standard. Engagements are performed to the satisfactory standard. You don't just go into any engagement and and start that particular engagement in just anyhow. But you need to ensure that the engagements are performed to a satisfactory standard. So apart from that, another procedure at the firm's level is the area of acceptance and continuance of a client relationship and a specific engagement. Now, only suitable client and engagement are accepted and retained. It is the responsibility of the firm to ensure that there is a procedures in place whereby it is only a suitable client, and engagement are acceptable and retained. You can definitely, there's every possibility that the client may not be suitable for your firm. And if that client is not suitable for your firm, you don't accept the engagement. If peradventure you have accepted the engagement, that you discover that the client is not suitable, you may not continue with the type of way, you may not continue your relationship with such a client. So it is the responsibility of the firm to ensure this. What about L? I said A, mean D. What about L? Here in the area of leadership responsibility for quality within the firm. It's also firm must establish policy and procedure to ensure, to promote an internal culture that recognize the importance of quality in performing engagement. Internal culture that recognize the importance of quality in performing engagement. So leadership responsibility for quality within the firm is also very, very crucial, very important, to ensure the quality control. Also, we have another one called monitoring. When it comes to the monitoring, it's also, evaluating the quality control procedure to ensure they are effective. Therefore, proper monitoring should be performed to ensure what? To ensure quality control procedure are practiced are adequate. You don't just have a policy in place, you don't just have a procedures in place, but proper monitoring has to be in place to ensure that those particular procedures that you have in place, they are adequate, they are relevant, and they are also very effective. It is also the responsibility of the firm to ensure that all these things are in place. So apart from monitoring also, we have another procedure at the firm's level, which I call ethical requirements. When it comes to the ethical requirements, in our season 2 of AAA, we treated ethical requirements, the code of ethical requirements, where we gave us 5 code of ethical requirements. So all these code of ethical requirements that we gave to us, the confidentiality, the objectivity, integrity, all these code of ethical requirements are actually there in order to ensure what? To ensure quality control in any engagement, especially in auditing of the financial statement, to ensure quality control in any engagement, especially in auditing of the financial statement. So lastly, we say HAIL-MIDI, documentation of the system of quality control. Now, there must be a documentation of system of quality control in place. There must be a documentation of system of quality control in place at the firm's level. Documentation is just so key. This is where you see the audit plan. This is where you see audit working paper. This is where you see all the documents. They are intact. Why are we doing all this thing? It's just for the firm to ensure that there is a system of a quality control in place. So that is it. Don't forget, just HAIL-MIDI. Just use HAIL-MIDI as a procedure to ensure the quality control at the firm's level. H is what? Is human resources. E is what? Is engagement and performance. A is what? Acceptance and continuance of audit engagement. And L is what? Is talking about leadership and what? And M is what? Is talking about monitoring. And E is talking about ethical requirements. While D is talking about documentation of the system of quality control. Please, those things, they are just so important. I can We keep on testing quality control nearly every diet. We have seen a diet before that we test it nearly every diet. It was tested last diet, so we are not going to be surprised if I can move and test it this diet again. All right. Another classification of quality control procedure is a quality control arrangement for individual engagement. Quality control arrangement for individual engagement. Don't forget, the quality control procedure at the firm's level is actually treated under ISQC1, standard ISQC1, under ISQC1 is the quality control procedure at the firm's level. But ISA 220 is actually the standard that treated the quality control arrangement for individual engagement, quality control arrangement for individual engagement. So the quality control procedures applied to the conduct of each individual audit engagement will be based around the effective management of the audit team, working on that particular engagement. And also, I have also developed an mnemonics or acronyms for this particular one also. They are just 3 in number, DSR. They are 3 in number. Please, if ICANN has tested the quality control procedure at the firm's level last diet, they might also try and test the quality control arrangement for individual engagement this diet. So you don't need to stretch yourself too much. The short way of knowing it is just using these acronyms of DSR. DSR. Now, what do they mean? Quality control procedure, quality control arrangement for individual engagement. Yes. The first D is direction of the staff, direction of the audit staff. The direction of the audit staff is the responsibility of the engagement partner. You know, the direction of the audit staff is the responsibility of the engagement partner. Don't forget, I told us that every engagement has a partner in charge that is actually taking care of that particular engagement. So the direction of the staff is the responsibility of the engagement partner for the audit. So the direction is achieved by the following method. You know, the engagement partner actually achieve the direction by the following method. The audit team should be informed of the work they are expected to carry out, and also there should be well prepared audit working program, and the staff should be familiar with the overall audit plan. Staff should be familiar with the overall audit plan. Yes, every member of the audit team, they have the area that they need to actually focus on. It is the responsibility of the engagement partner to ensure that every member of the audit team are being given the assignment that they can handle. You know, that is a way of ensuring that there is a quality control on the work that they want to do. You know, you don't want to give a sensitive, a high-risk area to an audit trainee. You don't want to give a high-risk area to an audit trainee. For example, you don't want to give a revenue. Revenue is very high-risk area. You know, if an engagement, if an audit firm misses the revenue aspect of any auditing of a financial statement, you can be sure that the quality of that particular audit work will be compromised. So you don't want to give, you know, high risk. You don't want to give high risk area of any audit of a financial statement to a trainee or to a junior audit team or the staff. Now, in addition, the member of the audit team should understand their responsibility, should understand risk-related issues, should understand problems that may arise, you know, problems that may arise with the audit and how those problems should be dealt with, and the detailed approach to the performance of the audit work. You know, every audit member should understand the audit plan, the audit approach that he wants to take in auditing a particular engagement. In auditing a particular engagement, you know, we are still going to treat the audit approach. We are still going to treat the audit approach, and every member of the staff, audit staff, must actually understand the audit approach or audit plan that the engagement partner is deploying to a particular engagement. That is the best way to do when it comes to the direction of the audit staff, direction of the audit staff. In any engagement, there is an hierarchy. There is an hierarchy in any engagement. When you have the team, whenever they are in faith, there is actually an hierarchy. Starting from the audit team. The team we have what is called the team lead. The team we have what is called team lead. And apart from the team lead will report directly to engagement manager. And the engagement manager will report directly to engagement partner. It is the responsibility of the engagement partner to ensure that there is a quality control. Okay, apart from direction of the staff, another area that the quality control must be ensured, at the individual engagement level is what I call supervision of the staff, supervision of the audit staff. When it comes to the supervision of the audit, the engagement partner must ensure that the audit staff, they are well supervised. The audit staff, they are well supervised. You don't want any audit staff to misbehave. You don't want any audit staff even to relate to the people in charge of governance, to divert an information or to do what they are not expected to do. So there must be an adequate supervision. This will ensure that there is a quality control in place. So supervision should continue throughout the audit. It includes tracking the progress of the audit, monitoring the compliance of the team, addressing significant areas. These are part of the supervision, tracking the progress of the audit, monitoring the compliance, the competence of the team member, monitoring the competence of the team member, and addressing significant issues. Whenever there is an issue, the engagement partner must actually put a system in place where the issue is being addressed proper. So that is it under the supervision of the staff. Okay. Lastly, under the procedures that must be in place in individual audit engagement is what I call review of audit work. Review of audit work. Review of audit work must also be done in order to ensure that there is a quality control in place. If the work is not well reviewed, error may not be cited or mistake may not actually be cited. So it is the responsibility of everybody. It is the responsibility of everybody to ensure that the audit work is being reviewed, is being reviewed frequently. However, partner actually carry out actually bear the responsibility, of everything that happens to any engagement. So review of the audit work is just a key aspect of the quality control. All audit work should be reviewed, ideally by the auditor with the higher level of competence and experience that the audit team member who perform the audit work. So what are the review process may take any of the following. The review process may take any of the following. Now we have what is called peer review. The review process may actually be in form of a peer review. This is a review carried out by another partner in the assurance firm. Review carried out by another partner in the assurance firm. Please just give me 1 minute, please. Just 1 minute. All right. Thank you. Okay, so that is actually the peer review. Peer review. This review is carried out by another partner in the assurance firm. Peer review. Yeah, we have another one called engagement quality control review. Engagement quality control review. Yes, a peer review performed before the audit report is signed as required by ISQ1 during the audit of, during the audit of a listed or a public company. Yes, that is when this particular peer review is actually carried out. But the engagement quality control review form part of the quality control procedure specific to an individual assignment. Yes, we have engagement partner. The engagement partner that also review the work of another partner is actually called what's it called, peer review. Another review that can actually be carried out in order to ensure the quality control is in place at individual engagement, at individual engagement is what is called audit review. When it comes to the audit review, when an engagement partner on non-listed or a public interest entity audits want a second opinion or to monitor the work of a new partner, that is when this audit review is actually being carried out. That is when the audit review is being carried out. We have just several reviews like that. We have another one called code review. A code review form part of the monitoring of the quality control. Code review form part of the monitoring of the quality control. Now we have a question that actually treats we actually go through that treats all these things that we have explained. We have a question here, and I'm going to go through the question now, and we just discuss the question and we move on as regards to the quality control, either at the firm's level, at the individual's engagement, and the procedures. Now, we have a question here that we call SMP accountant. That is the name of the question. SMP accountant. Okay, now we always advise students that when you have a question, you read the requirement first. Now let's go to the requirement of this particular question under the quality control. The requirement: prepare a communication brief for distribution to all staff, which set out, number one, why quality control policy and procedures are necessary. Why quality control policy and procedures are necessary. Number two, the area that should be covered by quality control policy. The area that should be covered by quality control policy. And number three, procedures that will be required to ensure that the policy are met. Procedure that will be required to ensure that the policy are met. That's number three. And number B, answer the following query which were asked at the question and answer session. Number one, what is the difference between a audit review and code review, and why are both necessary? What is the difference between the audit review and code review, and why are both necessary? Number two, why is it so important that all audit reasons and justification are documented in the working paper when it should be obvious from test? It should be obvious from test results what the key issues are. And lastly, why the audit working paper have to be standardized, since they inhibit auditors exercising their skill and experience in the most effective way. So this is a typical question that centers on quality control. This is a typical question that centers on quality control. So let me read the question and we look at the answer briefly because of our time. Let me just read the question and we'll look at the answer briefly. SMP accountant. You have just joined the partnership of a small firm of a chartered accountant, SMP accountant, and partner, and have been asked to prepare a communication brief for distribution to all staff, which will then be followed by the a presentation with a question and answer session. The communication brief is regarding quality control. The communication brief is regarding quality control procedures and audit working paper. Quality control procedures and audit working paper. Yes, IS 220 require quality control procedures to be implemented at the engagement level, and ISQ1 require them to be implemented at what? At the level of audit firm. Don't forget this particular area, please. Don't forget this particular area. The ISA 220 is talking about the engagement level, while ISQC1 is talking about at the firm's level. Now, the partner are concerned that the firm quality control procedure may not be satisfactory as they have been. They have never been reviewed since they were first implemented 5 years ago. In addition, staff are able to read the policy procedure in the staff manual, so there are currently no other way in which the information is communicated to the staff. There is no other way in which the information is communicated to the staff. So require, number one, prepare a communication brief for distribution to all staff, which set out the following: why quality control policy and procedure are necessary. Now, let's look at this question. Why quality control policy and procedure are necessary? Now, you will not see this one. You will not see the question. You will not see this one in your notes, even in your study pack or in any textbook. The reason why quality control policy are necessary and procedure. This is where the examiner is expecting you to demonstrate your professional skepticism. This is where the examiner is expecting you to demonstrate that your professional competency. You need to know the reason why the quality control policy and procedure are necessary. You can also bring these particular things out if peradventure you understand the quality control as a topic. If you understand the quality control as a topic, you can actually develop your answer, the reason why quality control policy are necessary. And number two, the area that should be covered by quality control policy. What are those particular areas? A smart student will look at this. The examiner may not come straight to you and tell you that you should list those procedures, those quality procedures at the firm's level. But when you look at that particular, those 16 or 17 that I gave to us, the HAMD, you will see that each particular area, the quality control are just so important. For example, human resources aspect, training of the staff, all this particular area, quality control are just so important. And the question is saying that you should outline or highlighting or briefly discuss the area that should be covered by quality control policy. The area that should be covered by quality control policy. And it's also saying the procedure that will be required to ensure that the quality control are met. The procedure that should be required to ensure the quality control are met. Definitely, they are talking about the procedure at the firm's level. The procedure of quality control at the firm's level. Human resources is another area. Apart from human resources, the leadership, the continuity of the continuity with audit engagement, or acceptance and continuity with audit engagement. At ethical requirements, engagement performance. These are important areas that a firm must ensure that there is a quality control, in place. So that's how to answer your question. That is how to answer your question. There's no one straightforward answer to a question like this. So let's look at the suggested solution. Let's look at the suggested solution on how to actually tackle this requirement A. On how to actually tackle this requirement A. Okay. Now, there is a question here. How do we know it is firm's level they are referring to here? Now, I'm not saying that it is actually firm's level that they are referring to here. You can bring your answer from the at firm's level, and you can also bring your answer from, from the individual audit engagement. For me, I hope I'm communicating you, because the examiner is not straightforward. Unlike in last diet question, they are just so straightforward that they have a quality control procedure at the firm's level. But this particular question, the examiner is not straightforward here. But if you can actually twist your answer, you will see the suggested solution that we have here. You see the suggested solution that we have here. We see that the suggested solution is not only at the firm's level, but is also coming from the individual audit engagement. So let's just check the suggested solution. So apart from that, another thing that I need to also let us know is that, the requirement will suggest how you are going to present your solution, the answer to your question. Now, here they say prepare a communication brief for distribution. You will have known that, this is prepare a communication brief for distribution to all staff. This is going to be in form of a memo. This answer is going to be in form of a memo. If it's come to ACCA, presentation is just so it's matter. Presentation, there is a mark awarded to presentation. But when it comes to ICANN, is also presentation is also very important, because you get a tick when it comes to presentation. Yes, you get a tick, and it's also help you to itemize your answer, or to tackle your answer very well. So let's look at the suggested solution as regards to that particular A question. Now, look at my suggested solution here. SP, accountant, and partner, internal memo, all staff, new partner. The memo is coming from the new partner. You give the date and you give the subject matter. Now, you can also give a brief introduction. Please find detail below regarding the subject of the, give a brief introduction. In fact, you can also, before you even talk about the quality control policy and procedures, the importance of quality control policy and procedure, you can bring out, look at something here, you can bring out what the standard is saying. You can actually lift this one to support the communication. You can lift this one. This is what the standard is actually saying. It's a 220 require quality control procedure to be implemented. You can use it to actually, buttress your point in answering your question. You're not going to be penalized. It's just help the examiner. To know that you understand what you are talking about. So look at the. I'm not going to go through this answer one-on-one, but I just want us to see how I've itemized the reason or the importance of the quality control policies and procedure. Now, first and foremost, I give you the brief introduction of the ISA 220. ISA 220 quality control for an audit of a financial statement require that all firms implement quality control policy and procedure at the engagement level. The engagement level. And what? Quality control for the firm that perform audits and review of financial statement and other assurance and related service engagement require all firms to implement the quality control policy at the firm's level. Yes, you have made your point known. This particular phrase, this particular sentence or paragraph that we put here, you have actually made your point known as the reason why the why the quality control is also very necessary. Yes, you have made your point known. Another thing that you can also talk about is that it is therefore clear that the audit profession as a whole perceive such policy and procedure to be what? To be necessary. Such policy and procedure to be necessary. And the key reason for this key reason for this are set out below. The key reason for this are set out below. Whenever an audit assignment is performed by a firm, there are several risks which it is exposed to such as a performance work, as a performing work negligent such that the client or indeed a third party suffer a loss as a result. What are we trying to say here is that the quality control is just so important, it's necessary because it protects audit or even the client, protect an audit firm from being charged for negligence, for being charged for a professional negligence. So the quality control is also help even the clients, their client or the third party not to suffer any financial loss, So that is how to just point out the reason, because the question was saying that why quality control policy and procedure are necessary. After mapping this one out from the question, you also develop this one and you reason out to come up with the reason why you think that the quality control, apart from the risk area that okay, it protects the auditor from being charged for the negligence or from being rendered any audit work in such a way that it's not supposed to be, or giving what's it called, giving an audit opinion, a wrong audit opinion. Quality control is actually preventing an auditor not to give a wrong audit opinion, not to qualify an account that's supposed not to be qualified, an account that's supposed not to be qualified, and qualify it, but if quality control are in place, that can actually be omitted, or that can actually, be prevented. All right, that's the way to tackle question number one. Let's look at the question number two. Let's just look at the question number two because for time. Now, let's look at the question number two. The question number two is talking about area that should be covered by quality control policies. Area that should be covered by quality control policy. Now, look at what I've done here. Area that should be covered by quality control policy. Number one, area that should be covered by quality control policy. Number one is what? Number one, professional requirement for all personnel. This is actually professional requirement for all personnel. Number two, skill and competence of the staff. You see that all this one is talking about at human resources level. Look at this at acceptance and retention of the client, quality control procedures in the area of acceptance and retention or what of the client, in the area of acceptance and retention of the client. See, that's what I'm saying. You can actually point out your answer, your solution from the understanding or your understanding of what quality control is all about. What quality control is all about. See, the delegation of the work. See, the delegation of the work is talking about what? It's talking about at individual audit engagement. Delegation, you are talking about the direction of the work. Look at this at assignment of personnel to the audit work or to any engagement. What are we referring to here? This is an aspect of human resources. What about monitoring? Look at this one. It's another area that the audit and that the quality control must be ensured. It's another area that the quality control must be ensured. Another monitoring, and monitoring is part of the policy, is part of the quality control at the firm's level. Part of the quality control at the firm's level. Now, look at another question. Procedure required to ensure that the quality control policy are met. What are the procedures required to ensure the quality control policies are met? Now, division of staff. Division of staff, that's number one. At division of staff level, you need to ensure that the quality control procedures are met. At the training of the staff, you need to ensure that the quality control procedures are also met. The training of the staff. Training of the staff, you need to ensure that quality control procedures are met. What about ethical requirements? Now, ethical requirements, you know what ethical requirement is all about? You know what ethical requirement is all about? Yes, we need to ensure is another area that the quality control needs to be ensured. Yeah. And also acceptance, this keep on coming, acceptance and retention of the client, or continue, engaging the client is another area that we need to ensure that the quality control are in place. So that is how to actually, that is how to answer any question given to us as regards to audit, as regards to quality control. Please just look at the quality control, look at what is entailed in quality control. Try to broaden your understanding in quality control and try as much as possible to see how to engage your answer as regards to, how to, map out your answer as regards to the quality, as regards to the requirement of the question. Now, let's go to B aspect of the question. Query from the question and answer, difference between auth review and code review. You will see here, I gave a detailed explanation of the code review and the auth review. I gave a detailed explanation of the code review and the auth review here. The auth review is a review of a working paper that is performed by a more senior member of the staff during the course of the audit, and is usually performed soon after the work is completed. It is usually performed after the work is completed. The reviewer will indicate that he has performed the review by dating and initiating, the piece of work, or initiating his signature on it. The review should ensure that the work has been performed in line with the audit program and that the conclusion are consistent with the result obtained. That is just the essence of the auth review. It might actually be asked, the essence of the auth review, the review is actually performed at the completion of the audit work, and the review is actually being done in order to ensure that the conclusion, the audit opinion is actually, the appropriate audit opinion is actually issued for the audit of a financial statement according to the results obtained. If the audit opinion is to qualify the audit or is to unqualify or to modify the audit, that is what the auth review is all about. And another silent point that you need to know as regards to the auth review is that it is actually being done by the most senior partner, the most senior member of the engagement, which is the most senior member of the staff, which is like a partner. Those are the ones that do the auth review. So when it comes to the code review, on the other hand, is the one that is performed at the end of the audit, usually by the audit manager or partner. And this will be done before the audit report is signed. This will be done before the audit report is signed. This will be done before the audit report is actually signed. Yes. And we comprise a review of the whole file together with a financial statement. In fact, there is no engagement that code review is not being done. There is no engagement that the code review is not being done. The review that is actually done by a partner, when you audit a financial statement, there is actually a review that's actually being done, frequently. The engagement manager, the team lead will do the review, the engagement partner will do the review, then the partner will also do the review. The purpose of the review is to ensure that the audit work has been fully completed and the result and conclusion for the entire audit are consistent. What's it called? The results and conclusion are consistent. So that is just a slight description as regards to the auth review and the code review. Yes. The third question is that why all audit reason and justification needs to be documented? Yeah, this is actually a straightforward question. Why all audit reasons or finding? Why is it that all audit reasons or finding needs to be and justification needs to be documented? This is actually one of the things that you can actually do by your own professional, understanding, or professional competency, to to answer this particular question. But let's look at what I actually put down here. All audit reason and justification needs to be documented in the audit working paper. Because of what? Because this working paper needs to be sufficiently detailed and completed. This audit working paper needs to be sufficiently detailed and completed to enable an auditor with no previous experience on the audit to establish work has been completed and how the conclusion were reached. You know, the audit working paper, one of the benefits or one of the importance of the audit working paper is that it actually enable the incoming audit staff, you know, they will be able to review the previous audit work. You know, the audit working paper actually grant them the access, you know, to be able to review the previous audit work, you know, that's actually done. So answer to this type of question, why or reasons or why all audit reasons or finding and justification needs to be documented in audit working paper. This type of question, just coin out your answer and you try to do what? You try to come up with your professional, you know, professional competencies and come up with answer. Reason for standardized audit working paper. You know, if you know why is it that audit finding and justification needs to be documented, we also know reason for the standardized audit working paper. You can also come up with various reasons for the standardized of audit working paper. You know, the standardization of audit working paper ensure that audit work is performed consistently across audit and that the evidence that is necessary for each piece of work is always obtained. However, the audit working paper should not be so rigid that they inhibit the auditor's skill and flair. Auditors should always looking for anything unusual when performing their work, and if any such issue are identified, they should be put on notice and dig deeper. You know, they should be put on notice and dig deeper. Every finding, everything that auditor find out in carrying out their assignment needs to be documented and dig deep. You know, that is where the professional skepticism comes to play. Professional skepticism, with me, question in mind. Auditor does not, they don't want to believe that they understand this. You know, auditor wants to ask questions as, you know, as detailed as possible. They can keep on asking you one question, they can be repeating it in several ways. It is actually what is called a professional, you know, an open mind, a professional skepticism, you know, question mind, having a question in mind. That is what professional skepticism is all about. Now, look at this particular question. I didn't provide solution here because I believe that we can actually get solution from the Pathfinder. Apart from that, and also want us to also go and also attempt this particular question before you look at the solution in your Pathfinder. Discuss the following 5 elements. Now, discuss the following 5 elements of a good quality control in a firm of a chartered accountant. Independence. 5 elements. Independence. What do you need to talk about independence? Here, you need to talk about that auditor needs to be independent, you know, in discharging their duty, because it will help them to ensure that there is quality control. Now, under the independence, you need to talk about that auditor needs to be independent in their appearance, and also they need to be independent of mind, independence in appearance and independence of mind. Now, that is it. Under personnel management, you know, discuss element of a quality control in the firm of a chartered accountant under personnel management. Under personnel management, you talk about the training of the audit staff, placement of the audit staff, talking about what's it called, recruitment of the audit staff, talking about hiring and firing, talking about ensuring quality control are in place. What about acceptance and continuance with the client is what we have explained explained before. Engagement performance monitoring, you know, you can see ICANN can also come up, you know, come and bring a question like this under the quality control. Has the audit manager in charge of a Silver Limited audit for the year ended 31st December 2014, state and explain 4 quality control procedure you will apply for. State and explain 4 quality control procedure you will apply for what? For the effective management of the staff. State 4. State 4. If it is a HAIMD, you remember, you can just take 4 out of it. If it is DSR, you remember, just take 4 out of it and explain. And you get your, you get your maximum points, you get your maximum mark there. That is how to do anything that has to do with, that's how to tackle question that has to do with audit. All right, so that is it. We have come to the end of a quality control as part of practice management. Let's quickly look at advertisement and tendering. Advertisement and tendering as part of the practice management. Don't forget, I told us that the practice management is just to ensure the way engagement is being managed from start to finish. That is what practice management is all about. And the number one thing that we have considered under the practice management is quality control. Let's quickly look at them: advertisement and tendering. What is tendering? What is advertisement? You know what advertisement is all about, and you know what tendering is all about. Tendering is just the process of quoting a fee for work before the work is being carried out. Submitting a quotation, submitting a bid, or quoting a fee before the work before the work is being carried out. That is what that's what tendering is all about. And what are the content of tendering? These are just some of the content of tendering. When it comes to the content of tendering, when it comes to the content of tendering, the scenario can actually dictate to you what will be the content of the tendering. The scenario that the examiner gave to you if they ask you to list the content of tendering, the scenario can actually dictate to you what you are going to include in your proposal. What you are going to include in your proposal. Tendering is just the same thing as a proposal. So what is actually the content of tendering? What is the content of tendering? Now, number one thing that I have here is that we have fee. We have fee. Fee should actually be part of the content of the tendering. You need to also talk about outline the firm and its personnel. You talk about the outline the firm and its personnel. This is now actually arranged. You talk about the nature, the purpose, the legal requirement. Talk about your experience, your area of specialization, the area that your firm actually specialized on. You talk about the expertise. You talk about the what's it called? You talk about the nature, the purpose, and the legal requirement. You talk about assessment of the requirement of the client. Talk about what the client is actually talking about, because tendering is not only done for audit engagement. Tendering can also be done for other related services. For other audit related services, tendering can also be done, for other audit related services. All right. Okay, that is it under the content of tendering. Now let's look at the fee. I actually want us to treat all this before we look at the question that we can use to illustrate our points as regards to advertisement and tendering, or charging for professional work. Charging for professional work. All right, fee. Now, what are the policies? What are the policies? What are the requirements? What are the body? The legal requirements or the framework requirement as regards to charging for a professional work. Remember, in our code of conduct, this might actually be mentioned to us when we are treating the code of professional ethics. The code of professional ethics. Now, when it comes to the fee, members are entitled to charge a fair and reasonable fee for their service. Member of chartered accountants, they are entitled to do what? To charge a fair and reasonable fee for their service. And the fee charge should include the recovery of any expenses properly incurred by the audit staff in the course of the engagement. Yes, if you look at the engagement letter or a letter of engagement, you know, that the audit firm normally gave, you see, okay, for example, in the letter of engagement for Deloitte, whenever Deloitte is giving a letter of engagement, they always put in their engagement letter, if you have seen any in their engagement letter, they always put there that they are going to charge 5%, or they are going to charge a reimbursable expenses, any expenses incurred by their audit staff in the course of auditing of the financial statement, like in communication, like in transport, they will charge it separately. So the fee charge should include the recovery of any expenses properly incurred by the audit staff in the course of the engagement. Therefore, the cost of providing services should always be considered. The cost of providing services should always be considered. Now, what are those factors to consider when it comes to the fee? What are those factors that needs to be considered when it comes to the fee? The fee considered appropriate for the work undertaking. The firm or the audit firm should, this amount, the audit firm to charge fee that consider appropriate for the work undertaking, and also the fee in accordance with the basis agreement with the client. The fee should be in accordance with base agreement with the client, and the fee by reference to custom in certain specialized area. Member will usually consider the following matter in setting a fee. The member will also consider the following in setting a fee. You know, the seniority, the time spent, the degree of the risk, the urgency of the work, the importance of the work to the client, and the overhead expenses of the firm. All these things needs to be considered whenever they are charging of fee. All these things needs to be considered whenever they are charging of fee. All right. Now, we agree with me that whenever the firm is actually charging fee, and whenever the firm is actually submitting a letter of what's it called? Their engagement letter. You know, that is where the fee is being mentioned. It is the responsibility of the audit firm to submit their engagement letter, the nature of the work, the time frame, the expertise, and the fee will be mentioned in their engagement letter. So apart from that, I have some scope, some things that also needs to be mentioned in the engagement letter here, which have also itemized here. The objective and the scope of the audit of the financial statement needs to be mentioned in the engagement letter. The objective, the scope, and of the audit of the financial statement needs to be mentioned. The responsibility of the auditor, the responsibility of the management, identification of the applicable financial reporting framework. All these things needs to be mentioned in the engagement letter, because when the auditor needs to communicate their responsibility, and they also needs to state the responsibility of the manager or of the management. They also needs to state the responsibility of the management. Now, let's look at this particular question in page 20. Let's look at this particular question in page 20. Is actually talking about tendering and charging of a professional fee. Let's look at this particular question in page 20. All right. Now, let's go to the requirement first before we treat the question. Let's go to the requirement. Okay. Prepare a document for discussion with the partner covering the following. Prepare a document for discussion with the partner covering the following: the advantages and disadvantages of tendering for the audit of a Lagos Layer Limited, highlighting any key risk to your firm. Now, you are not only talking about the advantages and disadvantages of tendering here, you need to talk about the risk to your firm. Talk about the risk to your firm. So, number B, although the initial estimate of the audit fee was 200,000, the initial estimate of the audit fee was what? Was 200,000. Was 200,000. Further work needs to be done before a figure could be included in the tender document. List the factor. See, you can see here. List the factor which should be taken into account when calculating this fee. What are the factors that audit firm needs to be taking, needs to bear in mind when calculating fee? When calculating fee in preparing your tendering for a particular work. Number C, an outline of the matter which should be included in the tender document if the firm decides to tender. Outline of the matter which should be included in the tender document if the firm decides to tender for the job. Okay, so you can see that this question is actually talking about the charging for the professional fee and tendering for job, submitting a proposal for audit audit engagement. Let's quickly read the scenario. Let's quickly read the scenario and look at how we can answer the question. Okay, Lagos Layers Limited, practice question on tendering and charging of fee. Practice question on tendering and charging of fee. Lagos Layers Limited. Okay. LLL. You are the senior audit manager for a medium-sized firm of an accountant. Your firm has just lost. You need to bear all this thing in mind because they talked about, the question was asking about highlighting the risk to your firm. Highlighting the risk to your firm. Your firm has just lost 2 clients which have gone into receivership, and this now being and has now been invited to tender for the audit of Lagos Layers Limited. The audit firm have been initially estimated at 200,000. The audit firm has been initially estimated at what? At 200,000. Lagos Layers Limited is a medium-sized manufacturing organization. This is where you are going to point out, when you want to give a background on your tendering document. Lagos, what's it called? Background of the firm that you want to audit. Lagos Layers Limited is a medium-sized manufacturing organization which has existed for 35 years and has generally made consistent profit. However, in the last 2 years, profits are falling appropriately. Profits are falling approximately 10%. So it means that the client that you want to get engaged with, their profit is actually nosediving by 10% in each year. Although the market sector in which Lagos Layers Limited operates is expanding, yes, they have opportunity to expand. They have opportunity to expand. The company has also stated that they will like some consultancy support regarding business strategy in order to try and reverse the current profit downturn or downsizing, and have set aside 1 million naira for this particular work. Don't forget, they have set aside 1 million naira. They have set aside 1 million naira for this particular work, and the audit fee that they are considering to charge for this particular work is 200,000. You can see where the risk will come in. If your firm, we have been told that your firm has lost 2 major clients. Your firm has lost 2 major clients in recent time, and you are also considering to tender for this particular. You are not only going to do their audit work alone, but you are also going to be helping them, in the area of consultancy. So you have been ascertained the following from a brief discussion with the managing director. You have been ascertained the following from a brief discussion, with the managing director. All right. have been ascertained the following. Okay, there has been no investment in non-current assets in the last 10 years. This is actually a risky area that you need to consider when you are talking about the advantages and disadvantages of the tendering. There has been no investment in non-current assets in the last 10 years. Non-current assets in the last 10 years. It means that there's every tendency that all the non-current assets of this particular organization might actually be, obsolete. Now, actually, be totally depreciated. The company was intended to start a program of investment 2 years ago, but this was cancelled due to the reduction of profit, and maintenance and repair of costs have increased significantly over the year. Now, look at the second one. Staff remuneration has been frozen. No salary increase. Staff remuneration has been frozen, and there has been some discussion with union as staff morale is very low. Several staff have already left. So far, industrial action has been avoided. However, staff morale is actually very low. These are the risky area that I would like you to be underlined when you are reading. You have read the requirement. The requirement was saying that you should mention the advantage and disadvantage of the tendering and highlighting any key risky area. You need to highlight these are part of the risky area. Here, there has not been any investment in non-current assets. It's a risky area. Staff morale is just so low. No staff remuneration is also frozen. It's also a part of the risky area to you, even though you are considering that you want to tender for this particular job. The finance director was dismissed. It's also part of the risky area. The finance director was dismissed 3 months ago and has not been replaced. Is currently suing Lagos. Litigation is another part of the risky area. Is currently suing Lagos Layers Limited for unfair dismissal. You see, this is how to highlight your point, the point that you are going to develop by the time you are answering this particular question. The major director, the managing director is due to retire next year. A replacement has not yet been considered. Every point here has their risky area. Every point here has their risky area that you can actually use to develop your point. There is an outstanding litigation as an employee is suing Lagos. Litigation is another risky area that you can also use to develop your point when it comes to the advantages and disadvantages of the tendering. Okay. Your firm. Now look at this. Your firm's total fee. Your firm total fee or total revenue income last year was 7 million, including 500,000 from the lost client. 7 million, including 500,000 from the lost client. A smart student, you know that you know what the standard say when it comes to the quoting for a particular job. The standard is saying that your fee, it is not advisable for you to take an engagement that will 25% of your total annual revenue. Now, this 7 million that this particular that your firm is actually generated last year as their revenue. Now, and this particular engagement that you want to take now, you are taking an engagement that is up to 1.2 million. Engagement that the proposed fee is 1.2 million. Is 1.2 million up to, is 1.2 million, is it up to 25% of this particular 7 million? Because if that 1.2 million is up to 25% of this particular 7 million, it is actually a grant for you not to tender for this particular audit engagement or for this particular engagement. But so far, what's it called? 1.2 million is not up to 25% of 7 million. Yes. So you can actually tender on that particular phrase or that particular clause. You can actually tender, you can submit your tender for this particular engagement. You can submit your tender for this. So let's look at the suggested solution, and let's look at the suggested solution and see how we tackle it. Now, advantages and disadvantages of tendering of the audit work. A number of the issues require careful consideration before deciding whether or not to tender for the audit work. That is the advantage. A number of the issues, the advantages is that what is going to be the advantages of this particular audit work? Should we be looking at 6.5 or 7 million? Yes, you need to be okay. Now, you'll be looking at the 7 million because the 500,000, you'll be looking at the 7 million. Should we be looking at the, yes, I understand what you're saying. 500,000 include client is already lost. Yes, the client is already lost, but there is actually part of their revenue. We are not told that the client that is already lost, and they did not, that the fee charged by that particular client is actually bad debt. We are not told that. We are only told that they lost two clients. They lost two clients, and their fee is 500,000. So we can actually look into the 7 million instead of 6.5. All right. Thank you, Mr. Peter. All right. Okay. So let's look at the advantages. If you look at this particular thing, the advantage is actually from the scenario, because what is the advantage to the firm? Look at the advantage to the firm. Number one is that it's going to lead to their increased fee, increase of the revenue. It's going to lead to their increase of the revenue. Number two, there's a possibility of additional work that is going to be done apart from the audit work. The tendering is just for the audit work, while the consultancy, they are not tender for the consultancy. It's just that the managing director is actually suggesting to them that they are considering of engaging them for the work of consulting for them. So it means that it's actually an advantage for them that there is a possibility of doing a management and consultancy. There's a possibility of doing a management consultancy. So the approach that we have actually used to answer this question, state your advantages and also state your disadvantages. When you state your advantages and state your disadvantages, you can now talk about the risk, the risk that is associated with this particular tendering, with this particular scenario. Okay, let's look at like 2 or 3 disadvantages that we can actually see, and we see that this one also is also mapped out from the scenario. Lagos Layer Limited is currently experiencing difficulty in respect of sales. Yes, they said their sales is nosediving. It's actually a disadvantage. If you look at it, if you are the one that want to actually tender for that particular job, you see that, oh, this particular client that I want to submit a proposal, I can see that they are not actually doing well. Their sales is actually nosediving. The company has also lost, the company has had staff morale problem. It means that the audit firm may not have a good rapport, with the staff. They may not have a good rapport with the staff. Is actually a disadvantages, in tender for this particular work. The disadvantages in tender for this particular. Another one, you can see that everything that we highlighted up is what we have actually used to build the disadvantages and the risky area. We said the company has had staff morale problem, which could make the audit work difficult, as staff may be unwilling to cooperate, with the auditor, or may present an unbalanced view of circumstances due to the low morale. Yes, you see, because their spirit is not actually lifted, they may not actually attend to the auditor the way they're supposed to attend to the auditor. In fact, another one that you can even see is that the finance director has been dismissed. The finance director has been dismissed. There's every possibility that information needed, for them to do this particular work effectively may not be available because of the finance director that is also being dismissed. Talking about also the litigation currently outstanding, from the member of the staff. is also part of the thing that also, bring a disadvantage on tendering for the audit of Lagos Leisure Limited. Now, when the question asks us to state the advantages and disadvantages, and I highlight the risky area. Now, when you say risky area, it means the risky aspect of it to the firm, and the risk aspect of it will not be an advantage to the firm. That is why the risky area is actually stated under the disadvantages of that particular tendering job. The risky aspect is actually stated under the disadvantages. I hope we are together. Please, if you can hear me, just type yes to be sure that my network is effective and you can hear me clearly and you understand what we are discussing.
Your network is okay, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Your network is okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thanks. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so that is it as regards to the advantages and disadvantages of that particular question. All right. Factor to be considered, or to be taken into account when calculating the audit fee for inclusion into the tender document. Now, you don't just wake up and tender for an audit work without consider, those things that our profession, the body that is regulating, our profession, those things that they have highlighted that we must actually put or consider whenever we are considering we are doing tendering, or whenever we are submitting a proposal or a tender document. Now, what are those factors? What work will be required to be performed for the audit? You need to consider the work that you want to perform before you can say that, oh, this is the fee that I'm going to charge. Before you can say this is the fee that you are going to charge, you need to consider the work to be performed. You need to consider the risk aspect of the risky area of that particular audit. You need to consider the risk area of that particular audit. You also need to consider the audit approach that you are going to deploy to audit of that particular financial statement. What are the audit approach that you want to use? Are you using risk-based approach? Are you using financial position approach? Are you using what's it called, substantive approach? These are different approach that we can actually use to audit a financial statement. All this approach needs to be considered when you are charging fee. All this approach needs to be considered when you are charging fee. You need to consider the expertise needed, the area of the expertise needed. Yes, you need to consider that when you are charging fee to any engagement. For example, it's very possible that you might actually need the service of expertise. You might actually need the services of other other professional body or other professional person, even in auditing of a particular financial statement. All these things need to be considered when you are charging fee. You need to consider the number and caliber of the staff that you are going to use in auditing of that particular financial statement. You need to ensure that the client is also clear as to what is included in the audit fee and what will have to be paid. You need to consider all those things. They are just so important for you to consider when you are charging your fee. When you are charging your fee. So those things are just so important. So in fact, this particular area, you don't actually need to go to the scenario to come up with the factors to consider when you are charging fee. You can actually itemize this factor without going back to the scenario. All right, let's look at the document. Let's look at the content of the tender document. An outline of what should be included in the tender document if the audit firm decides to tender. If the audit firm decides to tender, what are those things that needs to be included in the tender document? What are those things? Details of the firm and its personnel. You need to include that You need to include in your tender document, you need to include the nature, the purpose, and the legal requirement of the audit. You need to include the methodology, the audit approach that we are going to use. You need to also include all those things. You also need to include an assessment of the company's requirements, for the audit and the management consultancy support. You need to include all those areas. You need to include your personnel. You need to include the fee and how your fee is actually being calculated. We always want to present, we need to actually present, protect the integrity. That is why you need to actually open and be clear. You need to be clear. You need to be open and be clear to everything that you need to include in your tender document. The other service that you can also include, even those services that you have rendered in the past, or you need to also include all those things in your tender document. You will see that when it comes to the charging of professional fee and charging of professional fee and tender document, just so straightforward. So far, you understand what tender is all about. You understand how fee is actually being charged. They are just so straightforward. Let's look at this illustration too. Let's quickly look at this illustration too, and we move on to other aspects of professional. Okay, this illustration too, I'm not going to go into detail because it's also very similar to the illustration that we just finished. Recommend and describe the principal matter to be included in your firm's tender document to provide the audit service to the Dragon Group. To provide the audit service to the Dragon Group. Now, they have given us a background of the Dragon Group. They have given us what the Dragon Group wants. And, the question was saying, this is an ACCA question, 20 marks question. They asked us to either 20 or 10 marks. They asked us to outline and describe recommend and describe the principal matter to be included in your firm's tenders document to provide the audit service to the Dragon Group. Now, look at the things that I've actually brought out as regards those things that needs to be provided in tender document. Outline of the firm's specialization of the firm, audit requirement of the Dragon Group, outline of audit approach that you are going to use, the quality control, the communication with the management, the timing, the key staff and resources, the fee, these are the things, these are critical area. I mean, these are actually the outline of a tender document. I want to believe that we understand when it comes to the tender document now and charging for professional fee. I want to believe that we understand that. For the next 15 minutes, let's quickly look at the other aspect of practice management, which center under the acceptance of a new engagement. Acceptance of a new engagement. What are those things that needs to be considered when it comes to the acceptance of a new engagement? What are those factors to consider when it comes to the acceptance of a new engagement? Now, I've brought out a chart here that summarizes everything that needs to be considered. I brought out a chart here that summarizes everything that needs to be considered when you are considering for a new engagement. When you are considering as an auditor, you are considering a new engagement, what are those factors that needs to be considered? Number one, fee. You need to consider fee. You need to consider the fee. Fee is a very important area. Just, this is how I want you to look at this. If you want to take, you want to resign your appointment, or you want to take you went for an interview and you want to take another employment opportunity, what are those factors? What are those things that you actually need to consider? Put yourself that, you want to take another engagement, employment engagement. What are those things that you need to consider first? Number one thing that I myself am going to consider is which is going to be the salary scale that they are going to be paying me, which is fee. At this time around, is fee to the auditor, the fee to the auditor. Independence and objectivity is another factor that you might also need to consider. Okay, I want to take this particular employment. Am I going to be, is my independent not to be compromised? Objectivity, am I going to be maintain my objectivity? You need to consider management integrity. As a person also, if you are taking any form of employment, You want to consider the integrity of the client, of the company that you want to go into. You want to consider the integrity of the company that you want to go into. You want to do some background check to see that are they actually owing, are they owing, you know. So you want to consider the management integrity. You want to know that, okay, the former auditors that was there before, what happened to the former auditor? You know, you want to know how the former auditor was actually being treated. You want to consider the professional clearance. You want to know that you want to obtain a professional clearance as stated by who? By the firm. You want to consider the professional clearance as stated by the what's it called? By ICANN, the professional clearance, the step that you must take before you can take any engagement. The step that you must take before you can take any engagement. All right. Apart from that, you need to consider what is called the resources in place. What are those things that you need to consider? You need to consider, do I actually have the resources to take this engagement? Do I have, can I actually handle this particular aspect? Have I actually, do I have, actually have an experience enough for me to engage or for me to take this particular engagement, you know? And you also want to look at yourself also before you take any employment opportunity. You want to see, can I actually, even though I have opportunity to take this particular engagement, what's it called, employment engagement, can I actually perform well? Do I actually have prerequisites? Do I have the experience to actually do this particular work? You know, it's just the same thing. Just center your mind. When it comes to the factors to be considered in taking audit engagement, you know, put yourself in position of somebody that wants to take another employment. Put yourself in position of somebody that wants to take another employment. What are those things that you need to actually know? What are those things? Reputation of the client or reputation of the employer. The reputation of the client is also very key area. So I've just mentioned some. All right. So this chart will actually help you in order for you to know the factors to consider when you are taking audit engagement. All right. Let's look at this particular question before we call it a topic. Let's look at this particular question before we call it a day. All right. The question is Nielsen and Co. Nielsen and Co. Okay, required. Comment on the ethical and professional issue raised by the advertisement. Okay, this question is supposed to have actually been treated under advertisement. This question is supposed to have been treated under advertisement. But let's just quickly look at the question and let's look at it. Okay. Comment on the ethical and professional issue raised by the proposed advert. Okay, let's look at this question. It's an ACCA question anyway. You are a manager in Nielsen & Co., a firm of a chartered accountant, chartered certified accountant with 3 offices and 12 partners. About one third of the firm's clients are audit clients, and the remaining are clients for whom Nielsen & Co. perform tax, accounting, and business advisory services. The firm is considering how to generate more revenue, and you have been asked to evaluate 2 suggestions made by the firm business development. An advertisement could be placed in a newspaper to attract new clients. The draft advertisement has been given to you for review. Now, let's look at this draft advertisement and see if this advertisement is actually in line with our code of conduct as regard to the advertisement. Now, I'm going to be asking you to type here to suggest and to see here if you have seen anything that is wrong with this particular advertisement. Now, let's look at the advertisement. Nielsen & Co. is the largest and most professional accountancy and audit provider in the country. We offer a range of services in addition to audit, which are guaranteed to improve your business efficiency and save your tax. Is there anything wrong with this particular clause, with this particular paragraph of the advert? Is there anything wrong? If you see anything wrong, you can just put it there and type it in the chat button. Okay, let's continue. If you are unhappy with your auditor, we can offer a second opinion on the report that has been given. Is there anything wrong with this particular sentence in the advert? If something is wrong there, please just state it. Okay. Okay. Introductory offer for all new clients. We offer a 25% discount when both audit and tax services are provided. Approved by ICANN. They also put there, approved by ICANN. They said that introductory offer, all new clients, we offer a 25% discount when both audit and approved by ICANN. Is there anything wrong with this particular advert? Let's look at your suggested answer and see before we look at our own suggested solution. See the advert now. ICANN can bring something like this out for us and to query the advert or to give out to comment on the ethical and professional issue as regards to that particular advert. Let me look at our suggested what we have actually put down as our own concern, professional concern. Okay. Peter puts that you save your tax. It's also what happened with that. You save your tax. Most professional. Yes, most professional. It is very ambiguous. You cannot prove it. If you are saying that you are most professional in that particular industry, it means that it is just so ambiguous. You cannot prove it. Yes. If anything is wrong with your auditor, it means you are disrepute, you are discredit the service of other professional person, which is not allowed as regards to the auditor. Offering of a discount, no, you cannot state in your advert that you want to offer a discount. You cannot state in your advert, even though low balling is allowed, and you cannot state it in your advert that you are offering a discount. All right. Okay. Discredit the service offered by other. Yes, we have stated that. They cannot advertise they will save one tax payment. They cannot put in advert that they want to save one tax payment. No, it is not done anywhere. It is not done anywhere. So thank you very much. You have actually done justice, but make sure that you develop your point whenever you are answering questions that relate to this one. So in 2 minutes, let's look at the suggested solution that we have put. And you can also use that particular 2 minutes to also look at any area that you need clarification as regards to the practice management. We have treated quality control. We have treated charging of fee. We have treated engagement. What's the professional engagement? Taking a professional engagement. So those particular areas, they are just so crucial. If quality control was set in last diet, you can't say this diet ICANN might actually come to other aspects, maybe tendering, advertisement, or obtaining charging for a professional fee, or what's it called, factor to consider whenever you want to take a new engagement. Thank you. So we have come to the end of today's lecture. I believe that tomorrow is another day. We'll meet with the second lecturer in person of Mr. Adebayo. So we are going to be ending the class now if there is no question, so that because there is other course will take place by 9 o'clock. So thank you for your understanding, and thank for your patience, and thank for going along with us. So if you have any question, you can actually communicate with me at the end of the lecture, anytime, any day. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye.